Hey, Jonathan.
Hi, Dean.
Okay, so Jonathan, real quick, let's just jump right in. What is a fractional CMO?
Yeah, in short, fractional chief marketing officer is an executive leader who's in charge of all of a company's marketing, but
Hmm.
for a fraction of the price. They define the strategy, they lead the teams, and it's a really efficient way to get a lot of that executive leadership and presence without paying for the full price for what a typical CMO would charge.
So, cost less, but not because they're not worth more, but because you don't use them for a full work week, or you only use them for a certain amount of hours or days per month, let's say.
Right. And there's definitely an 80-20 there.
Yeah,
So you get a lot of the value for a fraction of the time that it takes to focus on your business.
fair enough. All right, then, Jonathan, tell folks a little bit about you. And once you've done that, let's imagine that it's day one of a brand new engagement, new client. You've never
Mhm.
worked with this company before. You're just stepping into the role. You're like 3 minutes old in this job, right? What do you try to accomplish? What do you normally see? Pick just like a couple of things that you normally go looking for, problems that you experience with your kind of clients. So who you are, and then what do you normally see in the first 3 months?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, I'm Jonathan Lowe. I'm a fractional CMO. In my background, I got a degree in electrical engineering, but ended up joining a global nonprofit after college. I did my 7 years there running a $4 million marketing budget.
Mhm.
I then joined Overstock.com, which bought Bed Bath & Beyond, and I ran over 50 million in advertising spend directly before transitioning to more strategy roles. Today, I'm a fractional CMO working with emerging e-commerce and consumer retail brands. Now, when I dive into a new engagement, um, there's definitely this process of learning and then building and then executing.
Mhm.
And so in those first 30, 60 days, there's a lot of learning. There's informational interviews, there's diving into reports, pivoting data on different elements. Um, I, I really enjoy getting to know the leadership team as well as the staff who are in the company as well. So we really need to align on goals, align on the target KPIs, really define what are the problems that need to be solved. Only then can we start to build up the infrastructure, start defining the systems that are necessary, the teams that need to be in place, the agencies. And that's really, I find the best way to start is to set a strong infrastructure for what we're trying to align to.
And so let's shift who you are for a minute. So let's pretend in this hypothetical client engagement that you're um, not the fractional CMO. You're the CEO. Okay.
Mhm.
And you've went through the process. You allocated the spend. A fractional CMO just started. From your perspective, how are you going to get like maximum sort of value from that fractional CMO? What are you going to do, or what are you going to stop doing, or how are you going to change your thinking to get maximum value from that person?
Yeah, I would encourage myself to listen. I've hired a fractional CMO for a reason, and I've probably operated as the functional CMO for my business for a while already. But I both need the time back as well as the expertise and the passion of the CMO to drive that part of the business forward. So I would really be listening to their expertise. And at the same time, I want to provide a lot of context and push back when the CMO is moving us in a direction that's not fully in alignment with where the company is going. That is my job as the CEO, is to drive the vision and then empower the CMO to do their job, to do what we've hired them to do, and to
Okay.
have them join the team that collaborative way.
All right, that's good. Prakash, you are um, welcome back, Prakash. You were on episode 27, and this is episode 97. So, and it's so good to have you back. I really appreciate it so much. Okay, so same thing. Let folks know who you are, especially if anything's changed, but I doubt that it has much since episode 27. And like, how do you normally, look at the ground and see what's going on in the first 90 days?
Dean, thank you for having me back. Despite my, I'm glad, I'm thrilled to hear that you actually wanted me back after the first
Absolutely.
one. Thank you. Uh, I'm Prakash Nagpal. I'm a fractional CMO. I was CMO at some early stage companies that I helped launch and scale to over $100 million in revenue. Starting about a year ago, I moved into fractional work. The domains I've worked in have expanded from cybersecurity and SaaS companies to ed tech, logistic companies, AI, and machine learning companies. And there's a lot happening in the way everyone is approaching marketing.
Yeah.
A vast universe of cool problems to tackle across different industries and environments, including what are seen as traditional non tech industries. Uh, Specifically, the companies that I've been working with are trying to launch and scale their products. So it's super exciting to get involved with these entrepreneurs that are doing things that, are kind of mind blowing, right?
Right.
So that's my background. In terms of what I look for in the first 90 days, right? So I start with first trying to listen, going in and trying to understand what I signed up for. Part of it is, there's the SOW and so on, but the SOW is only as good as the initial 15 minutes. And beyond that, it's the digging, the listening, and understanding of exactly what the problem is that you're solving. Start there. The second part I do is assessing what is really to be solved and what the priorities are. Understanding the product, understanding the service, understanding the offering. The third is starting to develop an execution plan
Hmm.
and a strategy with the following mindset. One, understand the customer. Right? That's critical. If you don't understand the customer, you're shooting in the dark. The second part is understanding the roadblocks on them achieving the goals that they're trying to achieve. And the third is trying to find quick wins to establish credibility. I liken the first 90 days to sending out an email to a customer. The subject line is you're asking them permission for, or you're asking them for the right for their next 10 seconds. And Dean, you live in this world, right? The
Yeah.
subject line starts with, hey, give me 10 more seconds. And then the first sentence is, give me 10 more seconds. And then give me 30 more seconds. I think of the 90 days in the same fashion. What is your subject line? What are you going to achieve? What are you going to show? That has given you the right to ask for the next period of time to engage with that client. So, to recap, listen, understand priorities, understand really the problem you're trying to solve, and then identify low hanging fruit, measure, monitor, and report back. I think that's the other critical element.
So that's what's supposed to happen. How do companies, after they've brought in a fractional CMO, waste that person?
So there are three things that they should do. And when I talk about the three things, within that, I'll talk about where the failures might lie. Communication. It's a two-sided problem, right? First, do everything to keep your champion and boss informed. Uh, Elicit communication when it's not coming your way. Build alliances beyond your immediate circle, and you'll be amazed at what you learn. I think where companies don't utilize the fractional to the maximum extent is when they're unwilling to participate in the process of communication. That's one failure, right? Where they go, you just go be on your own island. And that just never works. Marketing is it operates in this hub and spoke model, right? The CMO might be at the center of a lot of things, but if you're not connected to the rest of the organization, the output is going to be tremendously disconnected.
Right. Yeah.
Second, establish a mission from the CEO. Clarity of goals is critical, without which they will not see value or be successful. And then give them space to deliver. whoever you brought on board. Make sure that they do what they say and say what they do. And the same applies to the company, right? If you give fluffy goals and you're going to get fluffy results. So clarity of goals is critically important. And the third is measure, modify, and experiment. Establish meaningful and realistic metrics. Vanity metrics are nice. They make everybody feel good. Oh, wow, look, Jack brought in 75 followers on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
It's nice. The 75 followers are school teachers, and our target market is CFOs.
Yeah.
Well, doesn't really matter, right? Jack feels good. Jack feels good because you also put it on a slide, and everybody is thrilled. But vanity metrics are just that. They're in vain. So find ways to measure progress, establish clear milestones, and modify. Like I was talking about, marketing has changed tremendously. So modify your tactics, modify your approach, uh, learn, fail fast. Right? If you're going to fail, fail fast and move on to the next thing.
Okay, that's really good. Okay, so Jonathan, I want to let's. You're still the CEO in this scenario. Okay, you're still the client's CEO. You're looking at the marketing people you already have. Maybe you have just a few or one, or maybe you have like a more of a robust team, right? Juniors, mid-level folks. Maybe there's supervisors. Maybe there's management at marketing right now, probably, but there's probably never been leadership, marketing leadership before, right? Because bringing in a fractional CMO. You're the CEO. You're looking at that team and its makeup and inside people versus outside people and skill sets and headcount and whatever. You're looking at them today. You're wondering how they're going to be different or how the team's going to be different or better a year from now. What's going to be changed typically after a year with a fractional CMO in place?
Yeah, the fractional CMO really is designed to create strategy
Mm-hmm.
and to help grow and empower the team. And so I would very much expect each team member to have broader context brought in from the experiences from that CMO and be able to connect the dots better between the areas of expertise that they already have with the cross-functional areas that are necessary to grow the business. I'm also expecting that the team members will be engaged and excited and have clear direction for the career path. As the CEO, I'm not an expert in marketing,
Right.
nor am I the expert in what it takes to grow in marketing. And so I'm expecting that each member is going to see, well, this is the set of KPIs and the channels that I'm focusing on now. What would the next steps of growth be for me? And how do I get there and have a roadmap laid out for me? So staff development would be very important on my front as the leader of the business. And I want to create a long-term sustainable business. And so that's part of the expectation for the CMO.
And Prakash, what do you think? How typically, what as CEO, what's unrealistic for me to expect from a fractional CMO when it comes to improving the marketing team that's already in place? A lot can be accomplished, but what really can't be accomplished in a year?
It depends on the answer is it kind of depends on the stage of the
Uh-huh.
company. Um, I'll give you, maybe I'll start with an example, right? If you're, if you have, if you're pre MVP and you brought in a CMO,
Hmm.
maybe the timing wasn't right. What can you expect in 1 year if during that year you're still building your MVP is going to be different from if you already have a couple of customers that are trialing your product. So I think maybe the first thing is understanding and being very clear on where you are in the journey. Map the outcomes to what what is what you want to happen in that year. If you're pre-MVP expecting $50 million in revenue in that first year, is going to be highly unrealistic. So what I would suggest is that CEOs look at the milestones that they need
Right.
to get to the next stage, whether that stage is raising the next round of funding or going back and getting the second tranche of the funding that they've already received, and then aligning the marketing person to go, okay, the goal is to establish a brand presence, which might mean get me onto social media. Doesn't mean you get me 50 leads. Get me onto LinkedIn, revamp my website. Let's get our messaging. If they're not at product market fit or they're not close to that, finding message market fit is going to be difficult, right? So
Right.
understand what your product is. Um, I know I'm rambling a little bit, so let me try to recap. Right? If you're an early stage company, I think what is realistic to expect if you're pre-MVP is building a presence and establishing a framework on which you can build revenue. If you're at a stage where you have customers, paying or not, but you've shown you're getting close to product market fit,
Right.
then it's realistic for to expect them to help you build pipeline. And I'm not going into, expect them to build a website that looks blah 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 and so on, because that's irrelevant. Tied to the high level goals. My goal is to establish a presence. Great. Then do everything that comes underneath that. My goal is to build pipeline. Well, you can't really build pipeline without having collateral and so on and so forth, without enabling your sales team. So all of those activities must be couched in this bigger goal. And I think that's where the misalignment comes in, is when you're pre-MVP and you want $50 million in pipeline, or where you're post MVP and you're still trying to just establish, oh, just get me on LinkedIn and I'll be okay. Right? That's where I think the misalignment comes in.
Okay. Hey, so Jonathan, I'm going to ask you a question, and then we'll take the opportunity because um, we don't curate guest selection, which is to say everyone is paired up randomly. It's part of one of the reasons this thing's fun to do. And so I'm going to let you ask a question of Prakash, and then I'm going to ask him a different question and give him a chance to ask you a question as well. So here's my question for you before you ask any question you want to Prakash. So imagine that your neighbor comes over and says, "Hey, Jonathan, so like I know that you're like some kind of like high end marketing guy, right? And my kid just graduated from college and just started their first full time job in a marketing group. Like he's the most junior person or she's the most junior employee, junior marketer in this company. And the company just brought in a fractional CMO. And my kid told me, and I remembered, hey, Jonathan's a fractional CMO. And I figured, do you have any advice for my kid? Either as like just a marketer starting out in 2024 and what the next decades could look like, or as someone who's in an organization but that just brought in a fractional CMO, like, is there anything that they should know or anything they should be trying to learn or do now that there's, a CMO in place? What do you think?
Yeah, I always tell people that the three areas it takes to really grow, what it takes to grow requires passion, curiosity, and discipline.
Mm,
And so if you have passion for marketing, you are want like living and breathing in, find the niche areas that really excite you. For some, it may relate to the science of it, the data, the charts, right? Making and seeing the numbers move. For others, it is the art of it. It's the writing of the copy. It's the creative. It's how all the photography and videography fits together. Marketing is that blend of art and science. And so I would encourage the staff to lean into that. I would also encourage with the fractional CMO then to try to get in front of his or her, her time,
right.
schedule informational interviews if possible. And then throughout your career, I would encourage the person to always strive to do all the work that your manager doesn't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start doing that work and more of that work, then suddenly it becomes a no-brainer to promote you, to give you more responsibility. And while that's the track if you want to grow as a marketing leader, I also realize that not everybody is desiring that. And so again, learn what excites you, get really deep into that niche and be excellent at what you're doing.
Both of my kids are in college, and I give them the same advice basically every year, which is, ultimately, if you're gonna like move ahead, then you either do the work that other people can't do, or you do the work other
Hmm.
people won't do.
Yep, that's
Right? I
great
said
advice.
there's no competition in either of those fields. Okay, and what's your question for Prakash? Like a random fractional CMO who you just been paired up with?
Yeah, Prakash, what have you seen in the industry for fractional CMOs that has surprised you in the last year? You've been doing this longer than I have for now, and is it something surprising around the quantity of folks who are interested or the kinds of questions that are coming? Just anything that's been surprising for you?
That's a really good question, Jonathan. There are, uh, I can't say I'm totally surprised as much as I scratch my head and still wonder, right? On the one hand, the misalignment between what they are delivering and the value that their customer perceives
Hmm.
is, uh, even after investing millions of dollars, that gap continues to surprise me, right? It's how the investment went in and became a product without understanding the actual problem that is being solved. Right? So uh, I I've seen it before, so it should not surprise me. But it continues to go. You go, wait, why are you doing this? Right? And um, the lack of clarity surprises me. So that's on the, you know, uh, negative surprise side, right? On the positive surprise side, it's remarkable how much, in terms of how much value they place on marketing and the difference it can make, right? You go in and it's very common to see, oh, they laid off their entire marketing department or they got rid of their marketing budget. I have found that when they're looking for fractionals,
Mm-hmm.
they really understand. It's like, no, actually, I can't get to the next stage without good marketing. So that has pleasantly surprised me. Um, I was hoping that's the case, and it has turned out to be true that the really exceptional companies understand the value of that. Now, the universe of all the activities involved in marketing and sales and that uh, line has grayed quite a bit, right? What you do versus what a salesperson does. And so that is a journey for everybody. But I like the fact that they are willing to put more onto a fractional CMO's into a fractional CMO's bucket and even get them involved in the sales process. And I enjoy that. I absolutely relish the idea of talking to customers. So that has been a lot of fun.
And then that's a good answer, I thought. So Prakash, uh, so a question for you, and then your question for Jonathan. Okay, and not to be like rude, but to be quite blunt, fractional CMO. Okay, there are easier ways to make a living. Right? It at times can be an enormously frustrating job. So why do this? Why? Why?
uh, so I relish finding and addressing customer pain points. In this role, I get to do it at two levels: my direct customer and their customer.
Mm-hmm.
So, because part of getting hired as a fractional is figuring out the marketing puzzle of understanding their customer's problem, right? And part of my role is understanding their problem because I want to address that problem. I get to work on every aspect of marketing. I get to work with very smart people and some of the most interesting products and services. I get to work with experts in the field that have specializations that I don't. I get to learn from them. I get exposure to their thinking process and work with teams across multiple clients. Well, Dean, not sure if my tone conveys why I do this, but I enjoy it tremendously. I used to be in software development, and I cannot tell you how much I've enjoyed actually going into marketing and having this direct connection to the customer at an intellectual, emotional, and physical level. It's been absolutely fun. And obviously, it pays the bills too. So,
Yeah, not bad. And what's your question for Jonathan?
Jonathan, how do you think about your own pipeline? We are so busy talking about customers' pipeline. What is it that you're doing that's working and not working?
Yeah. It's fun. I love different strategic frameworks and ways to solve problems. And I created my own logic tree specifically for how do I grow business for myself, right? I have to remind myself at times to leverage the expertise I have in marketing for others for marketing for myself. And so I've broken out with the mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive, the MECE framework, the different paths, whether that is from building my own brand or joining someone else's. On my own brand, is it increasing essentially my conversion, my close rate, or is it getting in front of more eyeballs and all of that? And as I've layered down, one of the elements that surprised me is how effective LinkedIn has been. And I find that there are two pieces specifically on LinkedIn that have garnered higher impressions for me. One is the more personal I get, the more people resonate, I think, with that and are willing to and excited to be a bit of my cheerleader. So as I ask folks for help, they really do engage and share and repost and send referrals my way. The other element is to actually give really, although this goes a little bit counterintuitive to our typical social media strategies, to give really dense amounts of information. Charts, complicated charts, flow diagrams, great amounts of content on one asset are actually reshared a lot more. So as I've thought through the higher effort essentially I put into a creative on LinkedIn for that audience type, that seems to garner more attention. And so tactically, that's one area that surprised me that has been effective for getting my message out. And I have had people reach out to me because of the posts that I've been putting out into the world.
I really love that answer. And I'm actually just going to go check out your blog. I've even brought it up here. Okay, so we need to wind down. This has been so good. Jonathan, who should be contacting you these days and how should they be getting to you?
Yeah, I would love to be reached out. If you are an e-commerce business doing at least $5 million, maybe 5 to 50 million in annual revenue, or if you are lead a private equity group with a portfolio of companies that could use marketing leadership to quickly scale, that would be the best fit for me in my experience. I have a lot of deep experience in consumer retail, e-commerce, so direct to consumer brands selling online or retailers who have thousands or millions of products. That's where my deepest expertise lies. And I would love to have a conversation with you.
And how should people do it?
Come find me on LinkedIn, or you can see on the screen my website, saltfoundrystrategy.com. Visit the site, get to know me a little bit, and then fill out the discovery form there, and I will reach out very quickly.
All right, sounds good. And Prakash, who should be reaching out to you these days and how should they be doing it?
B2B tech companies that are launching or scaling, have funding, or have a product. It does not have to be fully baked, but have a product
Right.
and are looking to launch and scale. The best way to reach me is on LinkedIn.
All right. Guys, it's been such a privilege to have both of you here today. I really appreciated it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dean.
Thank
It's
you,
been great
Dean.
being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you,
And
Jonathan.
everyone else, thanks for watching. And we'll catch you in the next episode.